lot of nuts!
Moshi Moshi hyenas, and welcome back to the Sumito Media YouTube channel, where we like to take the time to break down some of the more interesting facets of internet culture. I'm your host Sumito, and today's topic is the topic. It's the thing that everybody has been talking about. I mean, I can't believe I even need to explain it. In fact, I'm not even going to explain it. How frustrating is that for you, someone who probably clicked on this video to specifically learn what today's topic is all about? Isn't that frustrating? Turns out it's kind of the only reason the internet's even cranking its gears and continuing to roll along is because everybody learned this one little trick to get more attention, clicks, likes, and views by simply not explaining the thing that they're talking about. The topic I'm talking about, obviously, is vague posting, a not so new but currently resurging phenomena online of people making posts on social media about something without explicitly stating what that thing is. So much so that it leads to further discussion trying to figure out what it is that the individual is even talking about, leading to more engagement than if they had outright made it obvious what it is that they're talking about. It is engagement farming at its best in a nouveau internet style way that can only really be accomplished by individuals who, even though they are microblogging or micro-influencing, seem to have started to interpret min-maxing and microscopic optimizations to make sure that even the stupidest tweet or the most irrelevant update that they post to social media is still doing all of the best practices to get as many eyes and engagement as possible with as little effort as possible. What is vague posting? Where did vague posting start from? What caused it to become so prolific to the point where it feels like almost everything on the internet is now a vague post? These are questions that you are probably not thinking of whatsoever, but I have to say out loud so that the robots that are scrubbing through this YouTube script think that I'm actually putting together a well-documented video essay with actual research. That being said, I guess I might as well explain its origins for you at home. Hyenas, I want to give a special shout out to today's video sponsor, Into the AM. I'm sure you know them well, as they've been sponsoring this channel for damn near 3 years at this point, and they've got a great promotion going into June. For this summer, all of June, they are doing a brand new design designed by their in-house artists or freelance artists that they hire, real humans making these beautiful graphic tees. A new design every week through this month. We're already near the end of the month, which means you can grab all of their fantastic new designs using their new bundled pricing. You can get a 3-pack of shirts, a 6-pack of shirts, a 9-pack of shirts, and the discounts just stack on top, on top, on top. You will be getting the best price per shirt by buying them using this bundle, and you can pick up every single one of the new designs that they're doing for this summer to wear by the pool, to wear at the beach, to sweat through while you're grilling hamburgers and hot dogs this summer. And it doesn't just need to be the graphic tees. It can be any of the shirts. It can be the sleeveless options. It can be the polos if you want to. You can mix and match any one of those, and it will give you the best bundled pricing for buying 3, 6, or 9 of them. You can check all of them out using my link in the description, pick out all of your favorite designs, and outfit your entire closet for the rest of summer just through one perfect promotion that gives you the best price on all of them together. There's no better way to outfit your entire closet this summer while simultaneously supporting your favorite YouTubers. So click my link in the description, get yourself some new bundles, save yourself some money on outfitting your closet this summer, and a big thank you to Into the AM. So what is vague posting? Specifically, the two words vague and posting when put together in this way. It's a fun little internet-ism where you can basically add the word posting to the end of pretty much any adjective in an effort to try to ridicule the person making that post by defining it as something completely defined by simply that adjective. The word vague, obviously, as defined by Webster, is something that is not clearly expressed, defined, understood, or seen. It is anything that is lacking in important details or information. It is vague. That explains why most vague posts will raise some level of confusion and then go on to lead you to ask more questions that cause you to engage with the vague post itself. Posting is a little bit more complicated. Obviously, it is the act of submitting something online, writing out a tweet, posting a YouTube video, any of that is posting. But when it is added to the end of an adjective as such, it then becomes the entire identity of the post itself. For instance, one phrase you might know very well is shitposting. Shitposting is used to describe any sort of submission that is low effort or trolling in nature. For instance, if you're taking a look through a forum where people are posting beautiful artistic renditions of their favorite characters from a TV show, and then one person submits a MS Paint drawing of their favorite character dying in a glue trap, making a meme or a mockery of other people's efforts, that is a shit post. It is not an earnest contribution to the conversation at hand. It is somebody providing a low effort, trolling, meme-driven submission purely for the contrast between the high-quality submissions of other users and the low-quality trolling nature of their own. Ironically, as time has gone on, shitposting has become so prolific that it has become a little bit of an art. There are bad shitposts, but then there are some truly beautiful shitposts that are so low effort and or so trolling that it almost becomes comical. It almost becomes beautiful to see somebody submit something that is so stupid that in and of itself, that shitpost then does become an earnest, honest, quality contribution to the forums, which is always fun to see. In the comments of this very video, you can probably scroll down and see a number of hyenas making discussions about vague posting, as well as some people providing corrections for things that I will inevitably get wrong. But sprinkled amongst those comments, you will inevitably also see some people saying something along the lines of, perhaps the vague posts were the friends we made along the way, or thanks for the information, my second favorite brown YouTuber, all of which would fall under the umbrella of shitposting. The terminology behind posting falls amongst a number of other adjectives online as well. You will see, for instance, hope posting and doom posting, two sides of the same coin. These are posts that are either overly optimistic or overly cynical. People who are rage posting are people who are leaving lengthy paragraphs expressing their anguish and their frustration with something. A post that reads more like an angry Yelp review when you went to a local IHOP and the goth waitress didn't spit in your milkshake despite specifically asking her to. My personal favorite is schizo posting, obviously coming from a combination of schizophrenia and posting. This is when somebody posts a lengthy, seemingly almost completely ineligible, illegible, or completely off-topic post that has almost nothing to do with the conversation at hand and seems to be written up by somebody undergoing extreme mental anguish. It is one of my favorite things to casually bump into on the internet. I realize the meme that I've been showing this whole time is more so people posting that seem to actually have schizophrenia, and that's not really what schizo posting is. It's more like when you're in a Twitch chat and somebody just goes off on an entire tangent that has nothing to do with what the gameplay is, and they're just blabbering about politics or culture wars or woke or their mom didn't make their cereal right this morning. You know what I mean, right? It's important to understand the origin of the affix posting, because when we take a look at vague posting, which you can now recognize as somebody making a post that is vague, to take a look at the origins of where vague posting came from, it actually predates posting in a lot of ways. In fact, the phrase vague posting as it's used in the modern internet was originally called vaguebooking, because it referred specifically to people making updates to their Facebook statuses in a vague nature. This was an activity that people would do where they would update their Facebook status, saying something along the lines of, today sucked, or can't believe it happened again, or you know what it is. I remember making Facebook updates that would have sad emo song lyrics that sounded overly dark and cynical, just in the hopes that one of my female classmates would send me a message and reach out. And a lot of times that it did, and it led into a conversation. If I just made a post saying, man, I feel so sad, nobody talked to me today, or I'm feeling kind of sick, that's an easy enough thing for you to just scroll by and not pay attention to. But if you add just the slightest amount of vagueness, just enough to make people pique their curiosity and make them wonder, what's going on there? What is it that he's sad about? It entices people to leave a like, leave a comment, shoot a message towards you, and that's ultimately what vague booking was. It was trying to bait people into starting a conversation with you, ask what that status update was about, and make you seem more socially connected than you actually are. This was so popular of an event, in fact, it's even got its own Family Guy bit.
Don't really want to get into it, but I'm fine. Oh, boy. Well, this is the last thing I wanted.
Okay, Sumito, so you're basically just clickbaiting a tweet or a Facebook update or something. That's what vague posting is? You give people just enough information to get them a tiny bit emotionally involved in what you're talking about without providing enough information that they know enough to just scroll by. So you're basically just telling people that you want attention. You're basically just letting the internet know that you want them to come and talk to you. That's what vague posting is? That's what vague booking is. Back in the days of Facebook updates, the most that you could really get away with is just telling people you're sad and hoping that they would ask why, or saying a status update of, your family member getting sick or your dog's not feeling too well, hoping to bait sympathy out of people. But that's vague booking. Vague posting, as it is in the modern interpretation, as it has been started to use by people on Twitter, people on Instagram Reels, and people on TikTok, has very much evolved into a much more weaponized form of social media post that isn't just sort of hinting towards a couple more likes and a bit more engagement from your close friends or what have you, but rather is a sort of post that is designed to sort of entice mass psychosis. It's the Mr. Beast thumbnail of the social media post. It is not just something that is vague by nature. It is something that elicits something so deep and primal inside you that you almost can't scroll any further or go about your day without finding out what this post is about. One of the precursors to this behavior on the internet that you need to understand in order to appreciate modern vague posting is sauce, which is a sort of bastardization of the word source. On old image boards such as 4chan, 2chan, and what have you, if you understand the format, you basically make a text post like you would on Reddit, but it is always accompanied by a single image. That is why these things are called image boards. And the entire thread of conversation that you need to click on is sort of thumbnailed much like a YouTube video is. You see the first image that somebody posted, the title text that they lay on it, and that's sort of what starts the thread. Hey, does anybody have any good movie renditions? What video games have you guys played lately? Let's put together all of our favorite pictures in this board, that sort of thing. You see that one image and then the text that first user posted, and that's all you have to decide if you want to click on that image board and read through all of the replies that people have. Naturally, over the course of time, people realized that if they wanted people to engage in conversations with them on image boards, that first picture mattered a lot. Because if that picture was boring, they wouldn't even bother reading whatever it is that you typed afterwards. It is very much like the thumbnail is on modern YouTube. And so naturally, what people started to do is just post pictures of cute anime girls, big breastises, and other sexually arousing images to get people to try to click into the image board just to find out what that was about. Just driving into the most primal urges of these 4chan users, and as it was. And as a result, very often people would simply reply with source. What is the source of this image? What anime is this girl from? What video game? What is the name of this character? I need to know so that I can look up more pictures of them, because I am not paying attention at all to whatever this thread was supposed to be about. I am completely enamored with this image. If white ethno-nationalism is so great, then why are 100% white countries like Russia, Moldova, Argentina, Poland, and Lithuania such shitholes, while the USA, the most diverse country, is the world's leading superpower? Let's face it, diversity is our strength. Now, this is an interesting conversation, and I'm sure he's being met with a lot of intellectual responses to this rather complicated and nuanced topic of discussion. But because he decided to use a cute picture of the Pokemon Eevee as his first image, the only reply that he received was, "Didn't read a single word you wrote. I want to fuck this animal." Now, obviously, the concept of using the best image to garner attention in order to get people to interact with your medium is something that has existed for quite a while. Sure, I'm giving you the example of 4chan boards using an attractive image as their first board post to get people to reply to whatever it is they're talking about, but this is basically the equivalent of using the best Facebook photo you have on your Tinder profile because that's the only one that people are going to see. It's the same thing as posting the best YouTube thumbnail that you possibly can to get people to click on and watch your video. The reason that I bring it up, though, is because it's a much more interesting concept when it comes to vague posting, because this has evolved into people posting really enticing images to get them to interact with whatever it is they're talking about in their vague post. A lot of the times people will post a tweet that's something along the lines of "this was crazy" or "my face when," with what should be a reaction gif, what should be one of the Pepe frogs, one of the funny SpongeBob images to describe what they're reacting to. But instead they'll use an attractive woman, a celebrity in a bikini, some cropped adult pornography, just because they know, in addition to the funny joke that they're making of "me when" followed by this image or this gif, they will also get a number of horn dogs replying to their post asking where this image is from. Who is this girl? What is her at? Please link me the video. Sauce, give me the sauce, resulting in more interactions than that post ever would have. Much in line with vague posting, and just like the archaic days of using a hot anime girl to get people to interact with your post on 4chan. Now, it isn't exactly concrete as to whether or not the following has anything to do with modern vague posting, but I do have to shout out one of the vague posting queens and the energy of which she projects online that resulted in what I have to imagine the more modern popularization of people just being okay with not providing the details of whatever it is they're talking about. And that is Tamara on TikTok. This happened quite a while ago, but basically somebody posted something along the lines of, "I'm going to start doing something every day and writing it in my journal," or something like that, to keep better track of how quickly time is passing. You know, a nice little thing to make it so that time doesn't slip through the cracks in your fingers. And this one TikTok user, Tamara, posted in the comments, "I'm getting 365 buttons, one for every day, because I want to do more stuff and I'm scared of time, so I want to be more conscious of it." Which makes a lot of sense, right? You're tracking every single one of your day, not letting weeks disappear without everything happening. Having a physical thing to track every single day that you live is a beautiful little addition to your life to help you better appreciate the time that you have left on this earth. But what are you going to do with the buttons? Are you going to put them in a jar? This is the question that everybody had, because at this point, it's just a vague post. Look at these comments. What is 365 buttons? And Tamara replies, one for every day, 365 days, 365 buttons. And then users are replying, "Yes, Queen, we get it. One for every day. But what are you doing with the buttons? Are you going to put them in a jar? Are you going to sew them on? Are you moving them from one box to another? Like, what are the buttons going to be?" And she replies, "Just to see how many days pass and to remind myself that time passes and I just have to have fun and do a lot of stuff." And people continue, "Yes, we get it, Tamara, but what are you doing with the buttons every day? That's what we're asking. Are you putting them in a jar? Are you wearing them? Where are the buttons going, Tamara? I need more information of what you're doing." And Tamara replies, like the queen that she is, "Hey, so it actually only has to make sense to me for me to do it, and I don't feel like explaining it to anyone else." And she gets replies along the lines of, "Girl, whatever, Lamau." I believe at this point, Tamara has made some sort of post online saying that she doesn't want to be bothered about this comment anymore, truly just disappearing into the ethos of the internet. Again, this wasn't even a TikTok post she made. She didn't make a career out of this. This is just a comment she left that went giga viral because of the nature of this vague posting queen. But it's this energy that seems to be residing in every one of these vague posts that that we've been seeing online. And I can't help but feel like everybody needs to pay just the tiniest bit of homage to Tamara and her 365 buttons, whatever she might be doing with them. That comment of, listen, it only has to make sense to me and I don't feel like explaining it to anybody else, has like 10,000 likes, which is a lot of likes. 10,000 likes must mean like 100,000 people saw this comment, not including the number of people who made brat edits and put it on t-shirts and talked about it on podcasts and what have you. And this was in the comment section of a TikTok that I don't even remember anymore. That's how much attention this vague post got, simply because it lacked critical information and people were so foaming at the mouth, drooling. They needed to know what Tamara was doing with these buttons so badly that they were interacting with this comment that could have been forgotten, on this TikTok that could have been forgotten, and instead it went on to grow an entire life of its own. That's how powerful people's curiosity is, and clearly people have started to be able to use that in an effort to garner that same amount of attention everywhere else on the internet. With the proliferation of people posting movie clips to TikTok and YouTube Shorts, it has only become a matter of time before people have started to weaponize vague posting with the movie clips that they have been monetizing. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, what has become very popular in vertical scrolling media, TikTok, Instagram Reels, and what have you, is people will just take the most intense, chaotic scenes from blockbuster movies, add in TikTok editing, cut it to be vertical, add in closed captioning, so that people can see the most intense moments from The Shawshank Redemption, Goodfellas, what have you. They'll just take the most memorable and iconic movie clips and just post it as if it's any other social media clip, and they garner hundreds of thousands of likes and followers and probably make a good amount of money doing it. Naturally, some people who haven't seen these movies will watch through these clips, get enticed by the most intense scene that Hollywood could put together for the film, and then ask in the comments, hey, what is this movie? Now, if the first comment were to ask, what movie is this? And the creator were to immediately reply, oh, this is from The Shawshank Redemption, every other person who clicks into the comments to ask that same question is going to get their answer immediately, and that wouldn't be very vague posting, would it? They wouldn't then subsequently ask, they wouldn't engage or like or what have you. They would get their answer and leave. So what do people do? They don't answer the question. They will let hundreds of people ask, what movie is this from? What movie is this from? And the person who uploaded it won't tell them, so that more and more confused people will add more and more comments, pumping that video through the algorithm because it's just getting comments on comments on comments. Some people will even play into this joke where they will reply to the original commenter and still not tell them what the clip is for. They will ask, what movie is this from? And they'll get replies along the lines of, wouldn't you like to know? Or, brother, trust me, you don't want to know what movie this is from. I have even seen it get so extreme that the people who will post these movie clips will delete comments of people giving the name of the movie just to entice more confusion and more vague posting within the comment section of the movie clip that they posted. They are just dripping in mass psychosis. They are driving people insane because they can't recognize a movie by the clip that they saw. It's kind of crazy to watch. Twitter is prime real estate for vague posting. I would argue it is also the one that has been infested with so much vague posting that if you accidentally interact with the tweet that is partaking in vague posting, you could very quickly find your entire timeline borderline unreadable, just zero context, impossible to tell what anybody is talking about on that website. And I think that's due to a couple of reasons. A, Twitter is a very simplistic social media as far as social media is concerned. The barrier to entry is incredibly low for a number of reasons. On TikTok, you have to be able to make a video. On YouTube, you have to be able to make a video. On Instagram, you at the very least have to upload a photo. But on Twitter, you don't have to do anything. You just type out a series of words that form a cohesive sentence. Sometimes doesn't even need to be cohesive. And then that is a tweet. And the algorithm tweets it just like any other tweet. And you might go viral for a stupid, silly idea that you had on the toilet. The social media post that you made took all of 5 seconds. And so you can see a number of examples like this one where branding is so important because we all thought of the same person and I don't even need to say her name. In a world where it's very clear what this person is talking about, perhaps this is a insightful piece of media that maybe everybody is thinking of the same person. But now that we have seen that it is so easy to game the algorithm to get more attention, clicks, likes, and shares, comments at the very least, by being as vague as possible, it's much easier to interpret this as this person vague posting, where it's like, you could have just said you were talking about Lady Gaga. You could have just said, hey man, this scene from Silent Hill with the nurses reminds me of Lady Gaga's dance moves. But simply by omitting Lady Gaga's name, this post becomes a little bit too vague and now becomes open to interpretation. And now everybody and their mom might be commenting something other than Lady Gaga. Congratulations, you have just made profit off of your tweet. The second reason that I think vague posting is so common on Twitter is because Twitter is very open to alternative conversations forking off of the main conversation. That is to say that somebody can tweet something and then somebody else can quote tweet that tweet. Basically grab that tweet for context, but then tweet out their own opinion, idea, whatever it is that they want to add to the original conversation. And originally this would be in a way that somebody would tweet out a question, an idea, an image, and then people would reply to it or quote tweet it with added context. They would say, hey, here's some extra information about this tweet that's already interesting, and here's me adding to that conversation. There has been a little bit of a regression in this, where people have started to quote tweet an image, vague posting about it, making what would otherwise be something you might just scroll by, and instead making it seem as though there is something more interesting going on. Here's an example of a video that somebody posted about, this 2009 cover of I forget what song or band this is, but it's a short video that they post to Twitter. And then somebody quote tweets it going, I can't wait for the next round of discourse about this video. Truly, we are in purgatory forever. So obviously there is some sort of conversation that arises every time this video gets posted. Seemingly there is some sort of backstory behind this viral video, but rather than this person explaining it, they're just hinting at the fact that some interesting tidbit of information about this video exists, and the only way for you to find out is to click into this tweet, thereby interacting with this tweet, looking through the comments, liking the comments to give an answer, or if you're left without any answer whatsoever, perhaps even writing your own comment going, hey, what discourse are you talking about exactly? Congratulations, you've been successfully baited by the vague post. Here's another one that I see all over the place, which is somebody going, there's a very good and logical reason for this, actually. Somebody will post a question, or they'll be like, hey, how come things aren't this way? How come things happen this way? And they'll get quote retweets that'll be like, there's a very good reason for that. Oh, if only you understood the reason for that. If I speak, I could explain this, but then I would get yelled at. Basically implying that there is an answer to a question, but not being useful enough to actually provide the answer to the question. The third reason that I think vague posting is so prolific on Twitter is, of course, AI, artificial intelligence. Grok, as it's known, is effectively another Twitter user that anybody can summon underneath a tweet by just going at Grok and then asking it whatever it wants to, and the AI will reply with a tweet within the tweet. You don't even need to leave the website, download a software, or anything. You've got the power of that AI at your hands. And Grok's very good at some things and very bad at some things, but fact-checking, asking Grok if a video is AI, or asking Grok if the information in the tweet is true, takes a matter of seconds and is generally pretty reliable. And so if you actually wanted to know the context behind something, wanted to know what scene a movie is from, where this character originates from, video game, anime, whatever, you can just ask Grok. Anybody can ask Grok, and it works just fine. So for what reason is there for an actual human person to provide any sort of genuine information, context, or what have you when it comes to something that's a little bit confusing? Very little. There's AI for that. And so what do humans do best? Vague post, I guess. So why are so many people vague posting? Vague posting has been around since the days of Facebook, as we've now learned. It hasn't exactly disappeared off the face of the earth or anything. It's been the clickbait nature of BuzzFeed articles and come click me YouTube videos and thumbnails and headlines all over the internet for decades at this point. What is it about the last 6 months that has caused vague posting to become so prolific across so many different social media formats, seemingly overnight? I would argue it's really just because of the algorithm changes. The way that everything works online nowadays is all about retention. It's always been that way. The longer that people watch your video, the more often that people click into your tweet, the longer that people click into your TikTok or click on the comments before just scrolling by and disappearing, the more that these algorithms think that you have made an interesting piece of social media post. If somebody scrolls by a TikTok without doing anything, 0 points. If somebody watches your TikTok all the way through, 1 point. If somebody clicks into the comments of your TikTok, 10 points. You have now made something so interesting that they have actually clicked on your TikTok as opposed to just scrolling away or scrolling away a few seconds later because you managed to garner their attention for that long. And that's supposed to be representative of people making good content. If somebody clicks on your YouTube video, it's supposed to be because you made a good thumbnail that enticed them to want to watch it. If somebody clicked into the comments of your TikTok, it's because you made a TikTok that was so thought-provoking that they want to continue the conversation and see what other people think, what other people have given opinions on, to see if their own thoughts line up with the conversation that's going on online. But because that switch is only as simple as how long does someone watch and do they click on it, when a metric becomes a goal, that metric fails to be a good metric. And now people just aim to do the least effort thing possible to get people to click on their tweet, leave a comment, click into their TikTok, or click on their YouTube video. And what better way to do that than to spark the curiosity nerve in the frontal cortex of your brain, I don't know where the curiosity nerve is, to get them to wonder, to get them to think, to provide an itch in their system that cannot be resolved until they have the answer to a question that they can only get by getting more information that only exists in the comments of your vague post. This is a very bad system, if you haven't picked up on this, obviously. In a world where AI is as ingrained into social media as it is, one would imagine that misinformation and a lack of context should be the last thing that we should be dealing with at this point in the internet's lifespan. And yet somehow users online have made it borderline impossible to decipher some of these tweets. And it's not just bad because, hey, a lack of context leads to stupider posts and what have you. But I'm actually starting to see the overall quality of posts online start to drop down because of genuine vague posting. Take a look at this post that I found on Twitter earlier today. The train scene in Evangelion Episode 1 is a masterpiece. What a vague post, right? What exactly are they talking about? How is the train scene in Episode 1 a masterpiece? What is it that so many people like about this? And then you go into the comments. If it wasn't for the train scene, I wouldn't be the massive Evangelion fan of 5 years I am now. This is a joke on the fact that the anime is 20 years old. Always post that scene twice a month. The train scene really gets forgotten, but it's incredible. I agree. I feel that people overlook the significance. Man, there must be a lot going on with the train scene in the first episode of Evangelion. There is no train scene in the first episode of Evangelion. This tweet has 400,000 views. 5 of the top 6 comments are people agreeing with this bit of misinformation, seemingly playing into the joke, and you wouldn't even fucking know that if you weren't a giant old anime weeb. What the fuck is happening? What do you mean you can get 500,000 views on something that's complete bullshit? That doesn't seem healthy for the online ecosystem. My final point as to why I think it is that vague posting has become so popular lately is because social media continues to become popular for people. The economy right now is not fantastic. Everybody's out of a job, looking for a job, or looking for a better job, at least here in America, where a lot of the internet conversations on Twitter in English are based upon. And so everybody sort of has in the back of their head this notion that, like, seems like a lot of people are making money through AI, through social media. Maybe I should throw my hands into some of these things. Perhaps if I get a hit tweet, perhaps if I get some followers on TikTok, perhaps if I get a little bit of following on YouTube, I can make a little bit of spare cash to, you know, help with the job that isn't paying me as much as I need to afford the house that I'm never going to be able to afford, because Elon Musk needs $2 trillion. That's just how it is. That's just how it is, right? And so people start to understand social media more thoroughly. They start to follow more best practices. And now it's gone from, you know, you used to just see clickbait done by big YouTubers. You used to only see people who are making a career out of YouTube doing the things where they post YouTube titles along the line of, this is my least favorite thing. I can't believe this happened. I hate this. You know, that was always something big YouTubers did because they had a big enough audience to get people to click on that sort of emotional lack of context, that vague posting. And it wouldn't make any sense for you to do it as a small YouTuber because it wouldn't get pushed out to anybody. You got to be search friendly. You got to have a descriptive title. But now people have flipped the switch and they've decided that the best thing to do is just to act like big content creators. I don't need to be a search engine optimized. I don't need to use keywords and hashtags for my discovery. No, if my favorite big TikToker, if my favorite big YouTuber is posting this way, I'm just going to copy them. And if they're going to vague post in their titles and not really tell me what the video is about, forcing me to click on it and watch, well, then why wouldn't I do the exact same thing? And as more and more people have started to make TikToks, hoping that they'll start making some money from TikTok, as more and more people start to post more and more tweets that get a bunch of views, and they hope that they'll get one of Elon Musk's big fancy Twitter checks for their tweet getting retweeted enough, as more people start to get into social media and start to treat it like a job, even though it isn't their job necessarily, they're going to start to incorporate some of these best practices: clickbait, audience retention, the influencer accent, hashtags, and what have you. And evidently, the newest introduction into these best practices has been vague posting, sparking curiosity in somebody who is scrolling by your content and hoping that that curiosity itches their brain just enough to make them decide, you know what, I gotta see what this is about, and then clicking on your tweet, your TikTok, your vague post. I think vague posting is stupid. If I had to take a look at a list of things that I could throw into the internet and set into motion, if you described what vague posting was to me, which would be oxymoronic, but if you did, I would immediately go, that's stupid. There's no way that's going to be good for the overall health of the internet, and I would tell you that it was a stupid idea to implement. But I don't get to decide anything and everything that happens on the internet. All I do is report on what I see happening as it does before me. And I do my best to try to make a video talking about the things that I see every week. So if you don't want to miss that, remember to hit the subscribe button so that you guys don't miss my videos. Leave a like on this video. It helps out a ton. Remember to pick up something from Into the AM with my link in the description. A big thank you to my Patreons who have been supporting this show for so long. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Spisu.